cost of this war has been astronomical, especially for Israel's economy. 350,000 reservists pull out of the workforce, entire sections of Israel depopulated, untold destruction of civilian assets in the north and south. Just how can Israel rebuild itself again after this chaos dies down? And moreover, how can it signal to the global community that the Jewish state is still a safe investment? To answer this, we are joined now by one of Israel's best-known investors, Erel Margalit. Thank you for joining us, Erel. I want to start with the big topic. Well, just how is Israel going to rebuild an economy given all the damage it's taken and the international shellacking it's gotten as far as investments goes?
Yeah, it's a big challenge for the high-tech industry in general around Israel, and it's certainly a challenge here in the Galilee. I'm currently in the Food Tech Climate Tech Center in Kiryat Shmona, in a city that's very near the Lebanese border, which is mostly evacuated, Margalit Startup City. And together with we're here on a tour today, together with the kibbutzim, together with the mayor of Kiryat Shmona and the head of the kibbutzim section, because we're in the middle of projects, and we want to make sure that despite of the war, we are continuing to plan the day after with major investments in the food tech category, with major investments in the climate tech category. And one of the things that I'm trying to impress upon the government, that yes, it is very important to give a clear answer whether we're engaging in a full-out war, and if we're not, then let's bring this conflict in the north to an end. Let's have a beginning, middle, and end with a resolution that includes both military strength on Israel's part, but also a strong diplomatic maneuver, because the people in the north need to come back to their houses within X amount of weeks, because otherwise the north will be bankrupt, quite frankly.
Erel, in addition to everything you've done when it comes down to building an economy in the north, you are a finance guy first and foremost, and you had some interesting ideas on how to also combat the enemy's financing and stopping terror groups from getting their hands on cash flows too.
Yeah, one of the leading companies that actually originated in Jerusalem, Terrorism, is actually a company which is identifying drug trafficking, money laundering, but also terror financing. And one of the things that we're impressing upon both Israel, but also the U.S. and some of the other banks and the other international community is that terror is not only guns and weapons and missiles and underground tunnels. Terror is also money, and organizations that have a lot of money to spend, both in terms of recruiting the terrorists, paying them a monthly salary. It's very mundane, but also building the tunnels and getting the ammunition from different sources. That's what you need to stop. The battle needs to be on the ground with the military, but also a sophisticated battle to stop the financing of terror organization, whether it's Hamas, whether it's Hezbollah, or whether it's even Iran itself, which is standing behind these proxy military states in Gaza and unfortunately Lebanon as well.
And we're going to continue that just a little bit, because you've also had some thoughts on the day after the war, what rebuilding is going to look like, and can you even build an economy in Gaza that gives them something to lose while also not letting them build up a military stockpile again?
Well, let's talk about Gaza, but let's primarily talk about the Galilee, which I'm here for. And I'm meeting so many of the people who are leaders in the Galilee today, and I'm getting quite a bit of inspiration from them, and I want to talk about them. But with respect to Gaza, the idea is that in conjunction with the military force that's being operated, Israel needs a diplomatic strategy with the leading Arab states that we have strong cooperation with economically, whether it's Egypt, whether it's the UAE, whether it's Saudi Arabia, or whether it's Bahrain. Israel needs to help at the second stage or the day after being built together with the Palestinian Authority. I don't think that we need to play games. There's not another organization among the Palestinians that is used to taking responsibility and cooperating on a security level with Israel, but the Palestinian Authority. So even though they're not perfect, and somebody may want to bring new people and new ideas and want to watch the corruption, and you don't want corruption to happen there, they are the organization that can stand with international support in order to start building a process for the day after. And Israel needs to be involved because the day after is also that administration that you put in Gaza.
Erel, I'm going to have to interrupt you right now because we are about to go on a break, but let's definitely continue this discussion as soon as we come back. Thank you all for staying with us. When we left off, we were in the middle of a discussion with Erel Margalit, one of Israel's biggest investors, as well as a former member of parliament, discussing the role of the Arab world and Israel's security partners in the region in building a lasting peace in Gaza in the aftermath of this war and helping to manage this crisis in general.
Well, I think that, you have very powerful countries right around you. And you have Egypt, which is probably the most stable country that, of course, has a border with Gaza and has a lot to say, has very strong security cooperation with Israel, and has a strong authority when it comes to Gaza. You also have the UAE. The UAE is Israel's strongest economic partner. We have about 12 companies operating there, both in Dubai and Abu Dhabi. And we have broad cooperation, whether it's cybersecurity, or fintech, or climate tech, or food tech. And I think that the UAE, one of the advantages that you have with a country like that is that they're very, very innovative in the way that they want to support things economically. And they tie between economy and politics. And the thing is that having a moderate organization in Gaza that builds the schools, the hospitals, the places of prayer, everything that you need to build for the citizens and not as a cover for underground military activity is going to be something that the people of Gaza deserve and Israel deserves as a neighbor of Gaza. And so I think that having people like that involved is important. Last but not least is Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia and Israel, behind the scenes, quietly, we have strong economic cooperation that we're beginning to build. We see the Saudis as one of the main countries in the region that's leading the region to a region that is looking for prosperity, looking for innovation, looking for blooming the desert, and looking for initiating large projects. That's exactly what Israel has in mind. And using that power that Saudi Arabia is mastering to help the region move to the next stage is going to be critical as well. All that with moderate Palestinians that we are working with in Jerusalem, that we're working with in the West Bank. You have to remember, not all Palestinians are extremists. There are many. The majority of the Palestinians want to build their lives, and they want to have an administration that helps them do that.
Erel, for our last topic, I want to jump back to something that's closer to your heart and your main passion right now. That's the tech sector. One of the things that you've been speaking about is the role that the tech sector has been playing in this conflict itself and in the post-conflict aftermath. Let's talk about just how they're helping manage things.
Well, first of all, the fact that a lot of our companies are thriving, are making the international connections, are making the connections in the region itself, and are building a strong international alliance, that serves as the base for Israel's economy on the day after. And that serves as the base for a lot of Israel's diplomacy. Because what you want is you want an Israel that talks to the countries in Europe, the countries in Asia, the countries in North America about innovation, about cooperation, about win-win strategies. And the high-tech sector is probably the symbol of an Israel that's creative, that's cooperating, and Israel that also knows how to fight when you need to, but also build on winning strategies that you could build on for the day after. The day after is the high-tech economy that needs to be leading because you need innovation and you need imagination to envision a little bit of a different reality after we're just having here with Hamas.
Well, Erel, thank you very much for helping present a vision for the day after and maybe some hope on the horizon after a few months of nightmares.
When you're here in the Galley, you are filled with hope. It's beautiful, and we're looking forward to doing great things here in the Galley. There's amazing people, and the young people in Israel need to consider the Galley as their next place to live after the war.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Erel.